Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, but we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, which accelerates global change. Global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. It means investing into a greener and therefore more sustainable economy. Climate change can lead to an extinction of large parts of our global population.
How about you eating the bugs?
Insects may be on our menu.
Bugs for dinner?
Eating insects?
In a couple of years, business could well be hopping.
Do the people in charge really want us to eat bugs?
Ancient elites were
Conspiracy people, they invent anything you can think of, but no, it's complete nonsense.
The company is called Insect. This is an insect protein just been approved by the EU.
Klaus Schwab said, "We have infiltrated the governments of the Netherlands." And he's
quite open about it.
He's open about it, so no conspiracy theory whatsoever.
Nobody forces people to eat insects.
Voor miljoenen mensen ter wereld voor de dagelijkse voedselvoorziening. Onze overheid heeft zich gekeerd tegen haar eigen bevolking. En zo is het.
I'm Nicole Kidman, and I am going to eat a 4-course meal of bugs.
Insects are emerging as a potential food source of the future.
They want you to eat bugs. The message couldn't be clearer.
Eat bugs.
How about you eating the bugs?
The morning shows, the late night shows.
And if you eat them, it increases sexual vigor.
It increases sexual vigor.
That's the message from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and every media outlet in between. If you care about the planet, if you want to fight the existential planetary emergency that is global warming, you'll give up your ribeye for a plate of mealworms. It's the least you can do.
I want McDonald's to sell the McCricket.
Everybody loves the idea of eating bugs.
Oh, the crunch!
It makes for great television.
Can you see that?
I need more.
Have you had your daily helping of cockroaches?
But the topic is creating quite a buzz.
Why are they telling you this all of a sudden? Where did this story come from? It's not organic, it didn't emerge naturally from a newsroom. It trickled down, as so many news stories do, from places like the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. It's part of a larger agenda. Nobody eats bugs voluntarily, they're filthy. People need to be persuaded to give up meat, and if necessary, forced.
We know what you're feeling. Repulsion, right?
I can't do it.
The internet understands this. You may have seen the phrase, "I will not eat bugs." It's become a meme online. Many believe that Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum is the globe's biggest bug pusher. Replacing beef with crickets appears to be the end stage of the Great Reset, the part where they take control even of the food you eat. That's what they're saying online. But is it true? Are people just being paranoid? Could there really be a plan to make us eat bugs? To find out, we decided to interview the bug man himself, the elderly German insect enthusiast Klaus Schwab. Unfortunately, Schwab could not talk to us. He was busy tending to his herds of praying mantises back on the bug farm. So we spoke instead to a man who looks just like him.
I am Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum.
Klaus is, hold on. Okay.
Comedian Jay Dyer. Dyer happened to be in Austin, Texas, gauging the appetite of his fellow Americans to eat the bugs.
Eat the bugs.
We are here to convince the riffraff to stop eating that which is killing Mother Earth and to eat the bug instead. Excuse me, ma'am, pardon me, what will it take to get you to eat the bug?
What is that?
I would like to convince you to change the diet of the American population. You there! You there! Halt! Eat the bug! Would you like to eat a bug?
A bug? No, I'm okay.
But the diet that you eat is destroying the earth.
What do you mean? How do you know what I eat?
Because you are obviously not well fed. We have found some of what the Americans call the gym bros. Timbro is not known for the high IQ. Would you like to eat a bug?
Well, they're actually smart, high IQ people eat bugs. You've got it wrong, man.
Precisely. I want to beef you up.
To beef up, you eat bug?
Correct.
That's not true. What are those?
That is the roasted cricket.
Okay, I'll have a roasted cricket.
He's going to do it. Here only in Austin will the man eat the bug to beef up.
Yeah, they're good.
Nice. It's already beginning to work. This man is now it. He has it. Eat the bugs now. There you have it. The American is being psyoped, and he doesn't even know it, to accept the World Economic Forum's plans for the eating of the bug.
You're from the WE?
I am Klaus Schwab.
Oh, now I get it.
Ambassador
Okay,
for
now I
new
get the whole
future.
scene. Now I get the bit. All right. No, I hate all that shit. Yeah. Yeah. They're coming for us. I want a steak. Do you guys have steaks?
Even the guys at the gym have heard of the World Economic Forum and the plan to make us eat the bugs. But what exactly is the agenda here? Professor Michael Rechtenwald has researched the question.
The World Economic Forum is an international NGO based in Geneva, Switzerland. There are numerous articles on their website that are advocating insect eating. But they definitely want a dramatic reduction in meat consumption because they do believe the cattle are, well, they say they believe the cattle are a major source of greenhouse gases.
There's even guys turned out of the university system coming out and saying that they can engineer humanity such that the population can become allergic to meat. Problem solved.
There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems.
So the eat the bugs conspiracy theory is a real conspiracy.
Insects are becoming a trend. The Western diet has to kind of shift and change.
Our food systems must be fundamentally changed, or there will be some kind of climate catastrophe. That we should replace 50% of our meat with bugs and lab-grown meat, that eating meat would be an occasional, quote, treat, that insects are the future.
And you will be happy and like it.
As the USDA found in a 2020 study, if the kinds of policies that the World Economic Forum, the UN, and European Commission have in mind are implemented globally, reducing the nitrates in fertilizer and reducing the cattle, this has been estimated to lead to 185 million people facing famine. In places like Sri Lanka, the agricultural yield fell by 30 to 60%, and people were basically driven into hunger.
So, conspiracy query. Is there a group of unelected bureaucratic elites that are involved in a global campaign to minimize meat consumption and convince people not to eat meat and to eat bugs to save the world from climate change? I think we can answer in the affirmative, absolutely.
It turns out there's no single queen bee behind the bug agenda. What you're watching here is the hive mind at work. The idea itself comes from places like the World Economic Forum. Oligarchs like Bill Gates fund the implementation. And you're paying too through your tax dollars. Government agencies like DARPA at the Pentagon send cash to the burgeoning agri-insect industry. That includes grants to people like Dr. Aaron Dossey of All Things Bugs. That's an Oklahoma City-based company on the cutting edge of edible insect R&D. We sent Professor Rechtenwald to find out what's going on in his lab.
Now, this is a mealworm cereal, cricket snacks, and cricket pastas. And I'm actually working on a cricket-based cereal, a Cheerio-type cereal with cricket powder instead of mealworm powder. I think it's going to be really good. You definitely got to check these guys out. So yeah, we've created a lot of prototype food products. Alternative meat, taco meat was one of the first things I made. Funny story, this was years ago when I first started this and could not tell the difference between it and a Taco Bell taco meat. So
that's scary.
Depends on the cooking and the seasoning. Well, but does it say more about the Taco Bell than it does the insect?
It's hard to say. It could be that Taco Bell is terrible. It could be that the insects are
really good. Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Dr. Dossey's research focuses on genetically bioengineering insects. He recently published the entire genome of the house cricket. That includes applications for improving breeding and nutrition and even vaccines.
Has George Soros offered to fund you guys?
Not yet. Capitalism, right? You take money where you can get it.
You receive funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and DARPA. How do we explain that if there's no global elite pushing this agenda?
Like myself, they care about the environment, food security, healthy biodiversity and things. So they've read about this. They've read some of the information from our research and others' research and want to support it.
Do you have any concerns that, I mean, you say this is sustainable and so forth, and green and environmentally safe, but what about the potential for a Frankenbug?
They said nothing to me about weaponizing insects. I even joked to them about it. They rejected my joke. So I think all of the motivations are quite positive. And of course, this is research.
Yes.
We were an R&D company for a long time, developing technologies, getting patents. We've developed a very solid foundation, and now I feel secure to go to investors. Did you look at who's investing in Insect? They have $500 million.
Right.
Iron Man is one of their investors.
Yeah.
The company is called Insect. This is Infras. This is a powder derived from the mealworm, just been approved by the EU.
It's true that Iron Man himself is getting involved. Robert Downey Jr.'s investment firm has pledged hundreds of millions to a French mealworm company called Insect. It's part of the World Economic Forum's so-called Global Innovators community. Insect's team gave us a tour of their futuristic bug farming operation, which is in the midst of becoming much, much larger.
This is where we grow the insect. It's like Fear Factor. You have to put your hand in the, here. So this place is a 12 meters high building, and right now we are almost done. We are building the commercial scale factory based in Amiens. And in Amiens, it's 50 times bigger than here. So here is just a pilot, just to show that it's working well.
Insect already had the largest mealworm farm in the world. It produced thousands of tons of bugs a year to be used as animal feed and plant fertilizer. But now, people will eat them. Thanks to rule changes made by the European Food Safety Authority, mealworms will become meals in Europe. They'll be sold whole as snacks for people who want to eat them. The worms will be ground into powder, and they'll be used as an ingredient in burgers, pasta, breads, and protein bars. Market watchers estimate the edible insect industry will explode over the next few years.
So we are already in 3 countries, and our ambition is to go beyond these footprints, to expand, especially in North America, in the US. Our ambition is to have insect as a normal source of food. It's not going to be a surprise anymore. Anywhere from Paris to Australia, Japan, Brazil, and the US. You will be able to find anywhere in your supermarkets. But in the next few years, we expect it to grow progressively with the support of chefs, of nutritionists, etc., different ambassadors promoting the products.
You're not just getting me to eat dirt, are you?
No, man, I wouldn't play you, bro.
They're still alive.
Are you excited to have worms in your burger? Most people aren't, and that's the point of the propaganda.
Like nothing you've ever tasted. Like a hairy nut. Don't.
The celebrity endorsers, the not-so-subtle marketing push to children in elementary schools.
Mealworm.
You're gonna eat your bugs, and you're gonna be grateful.
Need a little water.
But are there potential downsides to changing the world's diet so abruptly? That's a question for science to answer. So we sent our colleague Dr. Mark Siegel, along with a couple of our producers, to meet the world's greatest bug chef.
Hey, my name is Chef Joseph Yoon, Edible Insect Ambassador, and we work to raise awareness and appreciation for sustainable forms of protein. How can we sustainably feed the growing population around the world? And it doesn't suggest that we want to get rid of anything. How do we add something to our diets and maybe look towards the past for solutions for the future? They're incredibly nutritious, they're sustainable, but most importantly, they can be prepared absolutely deliciously.
Where is he? Here? Okay. Where's the chef? Chef?
Chef Yoon, Dr. Siegel, nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Really good to meet
Yeah.
you. These are all cooked, right? By the time they make it to my table, they're cooked.
Absolutely, 100%. We're gonna be turning it into a dish. Guacamole with black ants.
He's not wasting any time.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm and yeah.
Literally see the full head.
Cricket mac and cheese, which gives it this like nutty flavor.
Now, if we don't finish it, it's only because of the carbs, not because of the insect. So this is cricket curry.
Yeah, cricket curry. It has a little bit more of an earthiness to it.
I taste that.
Yeah, I taste that as well.
Very good.
They're expecting it to taste disgusting. In order for us to successfully change our behaviors, it's gonna have to taste good.
A toast to the chef.
A toast to the chef. Yes.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Chaim. We're just trying to normalize it instead of sensationalizing it. So, okay, well, we got dessert for you guys.
Ooh, a little bug fell out.
Yeah, no, so there are whole bugs in this dish.
What is that called?
Maggot. Is that a maggot?
No, that's a mealworm. I'm not a bug pusher.
No, not at all.
Like well, you guys could potentially be the next wave of edible insect ambassadors and advocates. And you know, it's like, I really appreciate the engagement, the opportunity, you know, for us to like, you know, debate.
Anyway, ready?
Yeah.
Chef Yoon, the number that we usually hear for insect eating in the planet is 2 billion.
2 billion.
2 billion people. But we've heard estimates in our interviews of it's more like 100 million. So what will happen if we suddenly expand this to almost the entire human race in terms of unexpected health risks?
Well, we're using the best practices that we know for food. So use like food safety and handling practices. In an abundance of caution, we would say if you have a sensitivity towards arthropods like shellfish, then you may also have a sensitivity to edible insects because of the chitin, the protein that's found in these, that's shared in these animals.
But what about the guts? I mean, when we fillet a fish, we take out the guts, and that's where a lot of infections are. The parasites or the bacteria are in the gut.
Yeah. Insects have a much smaller gastrointestinal tract, and so it's very easy to purge them. And so a lot of the farms that I know, they purge the guts of the insects. And generally speaking, if we're to talk like on specifically farmed or harvested for human consumption, the risk of pathogens is safe. And so we're doing the best that we can right now with the limited resources that we have in this fledgling industry.
According to researchers, edible insects constitute a, quote, underestimated reservoir of human and animal parasites. One 2019 study looked at 300 household farms and pet stores. It found parasites harmful to human beings in 30% of them. The insects, it should be noted, were not intended for human consumption. There's a difference. But they're still bugs, the same bugs they'd like you to eat.
Don't you envision a future where there's a top-down approach where governments say you have to eat insects because that's all we can afford, that this becomes a superimposed solution?
No one is trying to force this on anybody. I'm not trying to get you to stop eating beef. Like, if you love eating beef, I want you to be able to continue enjoying that. I'm simply trying to add something to diversify your diet.
What you're saying, which is you get choice, the movement to introduce insects in a top-down level, and we've been seeing this in the Netherlands, we've been seeing it elsewhere, is also a political move to try to decrease the amount of meat people eat.
I'm not trying to politicize it.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to think of it in terms of these grand geopolitical goals of like, hey, somebody is trying to take this away from you and force this into you. Like, that's the furthest thing from the sort of matrix or the rubric that I'm thinking of.
The people we spoke to in the edible insect industry didn't seem like extremists. In fact, to a person, they came off as decent and well-meaning. We liked them. But they're not the ones setting the bigger agenda. To see what a future of bugs for dinner might actually look like, we traveled to the Netherlands in Western Europe.
Dutch authorities are literally shutting down small farms. Thousands of tractor-driving Dutch protesters came out this week to continue demonstrations against the government's radical plan to slash nitrogen oxide and ammonia emissions by 2030.
The Dutch farmers' protests have been going on for years now. They fear for their livelihoods, you know, they're being robbed of their land, and they went out on the street in a almost un-Dutch fashion, you could say, you know, like blocked distribution centers, they even blocked the airport, and it had consequences for our food supply, like immediately. I mean, you could see the supermarket shelves were empty after just a couple of hours. But then the state decided to crack down on them with police violence. And that was also something that I didn't expect to be seeing in a liberal democracy that we supposedly are. If you control the food, you control the people. So creating a crisis, creating potentially a famine, you know, is a really, really good way to get full and total control over your population. And the farmers that we've been speaking to were telling us that that is a real possibility.
Mag ik hem meenemen?
Ja. Dat is trouwens een Eva.
That cow is, she has my name. That's Eva. I'm Eva Vlaardingerbroek. I am a political commentator. My family apparently has a long history of farmers, as do many Dutch people actually, because it's such a, I would say almost the backbone of our entire society, or our country is built on farming.
Insects are a replacement for meat. That's not always articulated, but it's always the point. The Netherlands is the largest exporter of meat in Europe. European leaders are working hard to change that. The government there is demanding a cut to nitrogen emissions of over 50% over the next 7 years. That will mean a third or more of all livestock will have to be eliminated. That's going to drive many farms completely out of business. Eva Vlaardingerbroek spoke to one.
Hello. So Jeroen van Manen, you're a dairy farmer here in Holland. So is it fair to say that the Dutch government is just using nitrogen as a pretext, really, to get rid of you guys?
Yes, it's for sure they created this whole problem. Whether it's the use of chemicals, whether it's the use of antibiotics. Dutch agriculture is the highest standard all over the world, so it's totally insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's not just insane, it's criminal, because the consequences of this will be that one of the most hardworking, lucrative, most successful sectors of our country will basically disappear. So how does it feel for you as a farmer? How do you see your future and how do other farmers see theirs?
Yes, that's the problem. We don't see a future, you know. Or the consequences of their policy is that there's farmers bought out or quitting their business or whatever. There's farmers who are going outside, going to other countries. Yeah. Well, they always say, never bite the hand who feeds you, and that's what's happening now.
What we are very proud of now as the young generation is that we penetrate the cabinets.
Many farmers, as well as some Dutch politicians like Eva van Haga, believe the government is using nitrogen emissions as a cover for a land grab. Their real intent is the Great Reset, a set of policies backed by Prime Minister Mark Rutte, who is a WEF member.
The World Economic Forum Food Innovation House.
So what will the policies that these people that we just talked about, that they want to push, what will the consequences be for our tiny little country?
Well, first of all, why did they pick the Netherlands? Mark Rutte is one of the young global leaders of Klaus Schwab, which is fine for him, but it's not so good for us. And we are a pilot country. We are the front runner for the World Economic Forum. And yeah, Mark Rutte thinks it's a good thing. I think it's really bad. Our farmers are the best in the world, the highest production per hectare, the most efficient ones, the most animal-friendly ones, the most sustainable farmers we have. And instead of embracing this success, we are starving our farmers. Some of the farmers have even hanged themselves.
So where will these people stop?
In the end of the day, and it has been said, it's been all over the papers, they want the land of the farmers. And it's the same as Pol Pot and Stalin and all the other communist leaders have done. The first attack is always on the farmers, and it's because they produce the food, but also because they've got the land. They own the land. But we're feeding the rest of the world, and If we stop, like the government is proposing, if we stop producing the food, some people in Ethiopia, for instance, will die. So that's the consequence of this whole new ideology.
So if you consider that livestock now occupies about 80% of all agricultural land, and that the demand for meat will increase by another 70%, then of course everybody understands it's not possible.
Everyone involved understands that famines are likely coming. Professor Arnold van Heus of Wageningen University is the author of the Edible Insect Bible, the book that launched the big bug business. If there's such a thing as God in the bug-eating world, this is him.
25 years ago, I became interested in edible insects. I decided to have a sabbatical in Africa. And I thought, how could I have been so stupid not having known that people eat insects? People in Africa don't talk to white people about the eating of insects because they know we consider it a kind of, primitive habit or something. It is racist to condemn people who eat things differently than we do. And I think that's an important statement.
So what would you say to people that are fearful of, the World Economic Forum and that this is going to be, forced down people's throat, basically? What would you say to them?
Well, the only thing I can say about it, that I like it. That sounds very strange, but it means that it's serious now. In the beginning, people thought, well, it's far from my bed show. Yeah, it doesn't matter, if people eat insect, let them eat it. But now it becomes on the shelves of the supermarket. Yeah, the European Food Safety Authority is authorizing products, so it's becoming real now. So people get worried. So I like that because it means that people take it serious now.
Proponents of the government's nitrogen policies, like Professor Van Heus, argue that the transformation of our food system and diet away from meat and toward insects is necessary to feed our growing global population.
Of course, it's absolutely necessary. Everybody realizes it is necessary. But of course, to throw farmers off their land is, of course, not that easy. So that's why you get a lot of protests. But I think there is no other way. So it's the only way to go, but it will take some time.
It's all a fantasy. It's all the new religion. And it's a scary religion because, of course, once the people are scared, the people in power can do whatever they want. So we have to be fearful and scared for COVID, for nitrogen, for carbon dioxide, for Putin. We have to be scared for everything. And meanwhile, these people who are in power now, they do whatever they want.
We have to prepare for a more angry world.
It's a movement to bring the Western world, Western civilization to its knees. It will come to the United States as well. There's no doubt about it.
So it's a global agenda that is pushing all of these things.
Well, not so much global. It's the result of decadence in the West. And this decadence has led to some sort of a craving for collectivism, for communism again. And these communists have gone underground and they're surfacing now. And we should fight them tooth and nail.
The food we eat and who controls it has become the center of a global struggle of the populations of various countries and the people who govern them. The Dutch farmers' protest led to the Farmers' Citizens Movement getting a staggering 17 seats in the parliament. The ruling parties, meantime, suffered severe losses. Italy has recently banned lab-grown meat and insect protein. I will not eat the bugs was a meme. Now it's a movement.
Boeren, burgers, Nederlanders. Ons land is ontstaan uit het verzet tegen de tirannie.